to the February 5th, 2025 Penfield Town Board Legislative Meeting. Will Councilman Berry please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Kevin. Will our town clerk, Amy Steklof, please read the roll?
Berry.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Leenhouts.
Here.
Ockenden.
Here.
Teglash.
Here.
Okay, moving on to communications and announcements. I'll start with our town clerk.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I do want to mention before I make my announcements that I do have a gentle reminder for everyone in the audience that during public hearings and general public participation, each speaker is limited to 5 minutes as per our rules and regulations and procedures to ensure all participants have the opportunity to speak. Public participation is not going to be a question and answer session. The town board will listen to all comments received, and if detailed responses are required, it will be provided as a follow-up sometime after the meeting. That doesn't mean it will be tonight, but it will be sometime. You probably contact our supervisor's office and you'll get an appointment. The town supervisor has the authority to enforce the time limit per speaker. Speakers are encouraged to be concise and respectful to help maintain an orderly and productive meeting. A countdown clock will be set on the screens up front so you know when the 5 minutes are up. Obviously, you do not have to speak the full 5 minutes if you do not need to. And thank you to everyone in advance for following this procedure. Now, the announcements that I have today, county and town tax bills were mailed out in January. If you did not receive your tax bill, please contact the town tax office at 340-8625 as soon as possible, or visit the Monroe County website to print a hard copy. It's important to remember the total payments are due by February 10th, so that is going to be next Monday, and we need to have you do that to avoid accruing interest fees. Installment payments are available if you cannot pay the total amount at once. For more information on payment options and links to Monroe County, please visit the Town of Penfield website at www.penfield.org/tax. And the second announcement I have is involving Adopt a Shelf. The Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf is seeking new Adopt a Shelf participants. The commitment involves providing approximately 20 items per month, such as mustard, jelly, hamburger, helper, for a period of 3 to 4 months per year. If you or anyone you know is interested in helping, please email penfieldfoodshelf@gmail.com or call 585-234-0799 and learn more about the food shelf at www.penfieldecumenicalfoodshelf.com. And that's all I have today.
Thank you, Amy. Councilwoman Teglash, please.
Yes, I have 3 announcements. The first one is winter parking restrictions. Please remember that winter parking regulations are in effect now through April 1st between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. This means that on-street parking is prohibited to allow snowplows to efficiently clear the roads. For further details on winter parking rules, visit the town's website at penfield.org/snow. Thank you for cooperating this. I know our plows have been out a lot this year, and I'm sure they appreciate our cooperation. Remember, if you have a fire hydrant, remember to clear the snow from your fire hydrant 3 feet on either side or surrounding it. That's crucial for ensuring firefighters can access them during emergencies. Residents are encouraged to remove the snow from fire hydrants in their neighborhoods, clearing a space of 3 feet on all sides, and to check on them regularly throughout the winter. Please remember to shovel any snow that has built up around the hydrant and avoid using a snow blower in its vicinity. Thank you for contributing to the safety of our community. Also, please remember that powered recreational vehicles are not permitted in town parks or on snow or on town-owned land. We would like to remind all residents and visitors that recreational vehicles, including ATVs, snowmobiles, and similar motorized vehicles, are not permitted in town parks or on any town-owned property. This policy is in place to ensure that we protect our natural spaces. Recreational vehicles can damage our trails, our vegetation, and wildlife habitats. Ensure safety. Town parks are shared by walkers, joggers, cyclists, and families enjoying the outdoors. Keeping recreational vehicles out of these areas reduces potential safety risks. We encourage all recreational vehicle users to explore permitted locations in the area where these activities can be enjoyed responsibly. Thank you for helping us preserve the beauty and safety of our town parks and public lands.
Thank you, Linda. Councilman Ockenden, please.
Thank you. I'll continue with one more winter reminder. This is regarding our snowplow safety tips. Please give them space. Keep a safe distance behind the plow and avoid tailgating. Snowplows frequently stop, make wide turns, which can be dangerous if you're too close. Watch for the warning lights. Stay alert for yellow and amber lights on each plow indicating they're actively working. Never pass on the right. It's unsafe to pass on the right as plows may push snow or debris in that direction. Remember to be cautious when passing on the left. Avoid driving through a snow cloud and ensure the road ahead is completely clear before attempting to pass. By following these safety tips, you contribute to a smoother and safer road for everyone during the winter. And you may have noticed in the media here recently, Supervisor Leenhouts and our DPW Director Moore were interviewed, and certainly the salt supply is an issue in the area. But I know the supervisor and director are keeping an eye on that and making careful adjustments as needed. So thank you for that. And then secondly, our brush drop-off continues here this winter. We have a couple more upcoming events, February 8th and 9th, this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and then again March 15th and 16th. And just a reminder, the drop-off location is 2143 Gloria Drive. That's south of Sweets Corners Road. Additional events may be scheduled depending on our weather conditions. Regularly scheduled drop-off services are expected to resume on Monday, March 31st. Just a couple reminders regarding the brush drop-off, that this is for Penfield residents only. Only brush and shrubs will be accepted. Large stumps, leaves, concrete, and other debris are prohibited. Questions can be answered through our Department of Public Works by calling them at 340-8710, Monday through Friday. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Councilman Berry.
Join the Penfield recreation community. We are excited to announce that Penfield Recreation is seeking enthusiastic volunteers to lead our brand-new DEER daytime education at recreation classes. If you have a passion, skill, or topic that you would love to share during the day, we want to hear from you. Whether it's a one-time workshop or a semester-long class, your expertise can help enrich our community. We welcome a wide range of subjects, including travel, do-it-yourself projects, cars, delicious food, gardening, and so much more. Don't miss the chance to make a difference. To volunteer, or if you have any questions, please connect with Pam at the Recreation Office at 585-340-8655. Together, let's create engaging and educational experiences for everyone in our community. Did you know that you can register your email or mobile number to get notified when new information is posted on the town's website? Our e-Notify service allows you to subscribe to specific pages that matter most to you, ensuring you receive updates by mail or text whenever a page is refreshed. Notification categories include alerts, bid notices, door-to-door solicitors, events and performances, town news, agendas and minutes, community interest projects, and properties under town review. We encourage you to stay informed and up to date. Learn more and register at www.penfield.org/e-notify. And lastly, for me, on Monday, January 27th, a section of Philbrick Park Trail System was closed to begin replacing the wooden footbridges along Irondequoit Creek. This closure primarily affects the Philbrick Trail connection between the town of Penfield and the town of Perrinton. The work is expected to wrap up as weather permits. The project aims to upgrade the existing bridge system to a modern single bridge structure. Once completed, the new walkway will greatly improve accessibility to one of Penfield's most picturesque spots. Completion is anticipated for fall of 2025. For more information about this and other community projects, please visit our website at www.penfield.org/projects of community interest or www.penfield.org/POCI. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Councilwoman Candace, please.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks, everyone, for being here tonight. It's going to be a busy weekend in Penfield. Friday, the town is hosting its Valentine's Day dance for families. It'll be a night full of dancing to fantastic music, no guarantees, fun games, refreshments, a photo booth, and other activities suitable for families. 5 to 7 p.m. on Friday at the Penfield Community Center. Then Saturday, the Penfield Trails Committee is hosting its night hike at Rothfuss Park, 6:30 p.m. More information can be found on the website, penfield.org/hike. Lastly, the Community Victory Garden Beds registration is open. Residents can secure their garden bed today by calling Penfield Recreation or visiting the Penfield Community Center and speaking with the Recreation Department staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Candace. So I get the easy one. I just have one. So the town office's President's Day is observed on Monday, February 17th, celebrating the births of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. While town offices will be closed, the public library will be open during regular scheduled hours. Okay, so this evening we have 3 public hearings. And before we open it up to public comments, just like to remind everyone, this is a portion of public comment is specific to the public hearing topic, and we'll ask for additional public comments during public participation section. And I'll ask the town clerk to call the first public hearing.
To consider proposed local law to amend Chapter 90, Animals, of the Town Code to modify regulations pertaining to animal control enforcement. The legal notice was published in the Webster Herald on January 22nd, 2025, posted on the town website and town clerk bulletin board. No postcards were mailed due to this being a townwide action.
Okay, do we have anyone signed up?
Not for this one.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, not for this one, sorry.
okay. Well, that was easy. All right. So we will move right along to public hearing number 2. So this is a proposed local law that will amend the existing Environmental Protection Overlay District, or EPOD, regulations contained in Town Code Section 250-61 and make related changes to Section 25-2.2 and Chapter 250. The changes are intended to update and clarify the regulations governing the EPODs, including the permitting process, requirements, and definitions. It also helps ensure consistency and remove competing requirements. Do we have anyone signed up?
Well, the legal notice was published in the Webster Herald on January 22nd, posted on the town website and town clerk bulletin board, and just like the last one, no postcards were mailed, being that this is a townwide action. I do have some speakers today. The first one is Sandra Gesser-Lick. Sorry, Sandra.
Mr. Supervisor?
Yeah.
Before you open this public hearing,
Sure.
I think you should make sure to close the first public hearing.
Okay. Do I need a vote on the
No,
close?
just indicate
just
that
say
public
close.
hearing
Okay.
number 1 is closed.
Okay, public hearing number 1 is closed. Thank you.
And then we want to make sure that downstairs they are prepared to, there's the clock. Okay, everybody, there it is. Okay, Sandra.
Hi, all.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. Sandra Gasserlick, 1763 Creek Street. So I've reviewed the red line document that you guys posted online of the changes. And I also had my attorney look them over. He's in the audience, Mr. Zoglin. the changes that you're proposing to make weaken the protections for EPOD, especially the woodland areas. It's not keeping with protecting areas, which is significant, and it doesn't, the types of regulating activity, it decreases that as well, and so I would urge you not to change that because it affects a lot of people negatively in the community, and that's one of the things that I feel very strongly about, having an EPOD across the street from my house. There are 2 properties across the street that are EPOD. You're probably all familiar with who I am and what I've been doing lately and the communication that's come across the board. So I would strongly urge you not to change the EPOD law because you are weakening the regulations. And essentially, if you weaken those regulations, why do you need an EPOD? So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Dave Woodward.
Hey, Dave.
Dave Woodward, 1530 Harris Road. First, I'd like to say when you list your hearings, on the paper, if you'd put a link to the actual changes, it'd make people's life easier, and I think it would cut down on town staffs, spending time with people calling and, getting information. But the next, I'd like to talk about just the timber part of the timber harvesting. So I had a conversation with Jeff Kehoe at Ag and Markets, and he said paragraph 2 may unreasonably restrict the farm operation as it's written. And I guess part of the question I have is, what is the fee structure? I haven't had a chance to talk to town staff, but I know in the past when one individual I know had just a small 1 or 2 acre lot they wanted to do some logging on for the amount that it was going to cost doing both the administrative work and everything else. It was cost prohibitive for what he was actually going to get. When you're only going to get a couple $1,000s and you've got to go through everything requiring here, it really takes quite a bit out of what you're actually going to get out of it. And in here it talks about doing a post-harvest inventory, and what Jeff said is that nobody does a post-harvest inventory. So number 2 actually forces additional costs, which can be substantial. And what you might need to do is a right to forestry review prior to approving this part of, the EPOD that you're doing. So I also had a little email with Jason Drobnik with DEC, and he'd be willing to review some of that. So with that, thank you.
I'm sorry, who did you speak with at DEC?
At Ag and Markets, I talked with Jeff Kehoe, and Jason Drobnik is the individual with DEC that he suggested, I had just a short email with him.
Okay, and did the DEC respond to you?
Just that he was going to, I just did this today, so I haven't gotten any kind of real answer back.
Okay, would be curious in their response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay. Sue Unclis. Oh, I'm sorry. I think that's it for the second public hearing that I have.
Anybody
In
that
possession.
wants to speak on the EPOD that didn't get a chance? Yeah, please. Hi, Donna. Mel, sorry.
No. Mel
Sorry.
Callan, 1410 Harris Road. Just a quick question. Before these changes were provided for us as residents, was the DEC consulted first?
I don't know offhand. I assume so.
Oh. That would seem to be pretty important for something of this caliber and this
Yeah.
subject matter.
Per
Thank you.
Dave's comments.
I can say
yeah.
that the EECC committee reviewed the changes, and
The what committee?
The Environmental, Energy, and Conservation Committee, which is the outgrowth of the, I forgot what it was. Conservation Committee.
Yeah.
And I think the drafts have gone through staff, the Engineering and Planning Department
But
That's great. Did anybody on that committee contact DEC about these changes?
I don't know, but what I know is what I told you, so.
Okay,
They have
it seemed to
been
be
through-
pretty, it would seem to be pretty important for these kinds of changes. It's a pretty dramatic change for what we've been known as I've been a resident here for 35 years, that the EPODs that we've been used to, that those kinds of changes would have been at least checked by somebody like the state DEC. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mel. Anybody else?
I don't have anybody.
Anybody I missed out there? All right, well, I'll close the public hearing number 2. Is that right, Pete?
That's correct.
Okay, just checking.
Okay, for public hearing number 3, to consider proposed modifications to the town's firearm discharge map to classify certain developed neighborhoods as firearm discharge prohibited areas. This legal notice was also published in the Webster Herald on January 22nd, 2025, posted on the town website and town clerk bulletin board, and as well as the other ones. No postcards were mailed due to this being a townwide action.
And just an intro to that, the proposed update to the town's firearm discharge map reflects Penfield's growth while preserving its rural heritage. These modifications prioritize safety in densely populated neighborhoods while ensuring that East Penfield farmers and landowners can continue to protect their crops and livestock. Hunting plays a crucial role in preventing economic losses caused by predators, allowing these agricultural properties, an essential part of our community, to remain viable. Okay. Who do we have signed up, Amy?
Okay, Sue Uncless.
Hi, Sue.
The statement I'd like to read.
Sue, just repeat your name one more time and address.
Sue Uncless, 1340 Plank Road.
Thank you.
Yeah, put the microphone just so they can hear you. Yeah, you got it.
There seems to be a lot of confusion out there, and also some nasty rumors flying around about what our group is trying to accomplish by asking for amendments to the map. Let's clear everything up right now. We are not trying to take anyone's guns away. We are not trying to close down the gun club or make the gun club move. We support the gun clubs because they promote firearm safety, and safety is the only thing we are about here. We also fully support the Second Amendment. And most important, we are not trying to keep anyone from hunting or shooting on their property if it is safe to do so. But if it is safe to do so are the key words here. There are many areas in the town that are totally inappropriate for discharging a firearm, and we have made the town aware of some of the more critical ones several times. In all of these areas, some or all of the following apply. There is not enough room to fire a weapon and meet the 500-foot rule. Hunters are consistently trespassing on private property. The 500-foot rule is not obeyed or enforced. The area is too close to housing, shopping, and vehicle and pedestrian traffic. In addition, all of our parks need to be protected. Currently, there are 3 parks in the town that are shown on the map as located in the area where firearm discharge is allowed. Governor Hochul recently passed legislation S5-1001, which specifically states that parks are among the sensitive areas that are protected. The town's constant argument that the parks are safe because of the 500-foot rule is irrelevant and unacceptable because, again, this rule is not enforced. Never, ever, under any circumstances, should firing a weapon be allowed in any park for any reason, with the exception of by someone in law enforcement. Throughout his campaign for election and ever since he took office, Supervisor Leenhouts has stated over and over and over that his top priority was and still is about safety. Here are a few of his comments. His campaign for supervisor, he states, "Safety is paramount to our community's quality of life. In a staff spotlight dated January 23rd, he states, "Keeping our community safe is my top priority." There are many more. He has just announced that the town will be planning a community safety event. We cannot think of a more critical safety concern than firearm discharge, and if anyone has one, we sure would love to know what you think that is. We are also handing the town our petition tonight with over 700 signatures from people who want and need changes to be made. In closing, we would like to say that the work session on January 17th, 2024, Supervisor Leenhouts stated that he would be a champion for our cause. What happened, Jeff? In that same meeting, you also said you would be willing to find common ground. Well, so are we. So can we get together and work something out that will make everybody happy, but especially so that everyone in Penfield can stay safe? We're willing to do that, are you? That's it.
Thank you.
Sue, would you like to give me your statement so I can add it to the record?
Yeah, sure. I didn't have a time to.
You can email it too, Sue, whatever's
Would
easy
you
for
prefer to
you.
email it to me? Okay. And the petition would go to me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Oops, you dropped your paper.
But Amy, per our usual standard, if you can scan the petition so that we can review and verify. Thank you.
Sue, how many people did you say signed?
700.
720.
Thanks, Sue.
Wade Broman.
Wade? How you doing?
Good, good. It's Bremen, actually.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Thank you. No, it's okay. No worries.
No, sorry.
No problem. So my name is Wade Bremen, and I'm representing our family farm, Bremen Farms, at 1861 Harris Road and 1411 Sweets Corners Road. Our family farms more than this, but we own 145 acres. This year is actually the 200th year that our family farm has been in operation, so on the same land in Penfield, so really special time. We love the town. We're proud to be a part of the town. Obviously, we've been here so long. But I'm speaking today in opposition of moving the no discharge line to Salt Road. I understand that this meeting isn't completely about that, but there's talks about it. So I feel that, my opinion and friends and families matter in this situation. So for 7 generations, my family has hunted our family farm. They've fed our family and friends. Hunting reduces crop damage. And they participated in an activity that they loved and we love. I hope I can raise my son and my daughter on this land enjoying the same activities my ancestors did before us. I hope I can teach my kids sportsmanship, gun safety, and ethical hunting practices on this land, like my father did to me, his father before that, and it just keeps going. So please use logic and the overwhelming statistical data to not move forward pursuing going to Salt Road. It will affect hundreds of law-abiding, responsible and ethical hunters, sportsmen who purchase their homes, their land, to enjoy its fruits, to put food on the table, and for conservation, population management, like predators, coyotes, and obviously white-tailed deer. This area specifically is, you can't hunt deer with a rifle. It is shotgun only. A shotgun, the statistical data on a shotgun, it's got less than a quarter of a range of a rifle. That's well known. The shotgun is a reasonable cartridge to be used in this particular area. Obviously, let's say that this line goes to Salt Road and crop damage is an issue. The more deer there are, obviously, the more damage there's going to be. And I know that this doesn't affect bow hunting, but it is a lot harder and more difficult to to hunt deer specifically with a bow than it is with a gun. So also with coyotes, the same thing. I mean, coyote hunting is very, very time-consuming and difficult. Trying to hunt a coyote with a bow is it's doable, but it's very difficult. The overwhelming majority of hunters, we're ethical, responsible people. We genuinely care about abiding by the rules, following safe practices, and following safe hunting and shooting practices, and we're the neighbors that you want to have. I think I speak for the majority of our neighbors, hunters, and sportsmen when I say we understand when an area is no longer conducive to firearm hunting, but this is not it. The idea of moving the line east to Salt Road affects hundreds of law-abiding hunters and sportsmen, and the facts behind this just doesn't have any hard data to support it, only fear and opinions. And we should not make fear and opinions to be the reason to entertain this drastic change. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Woodward.
Dave Woodward, 1530 Harris. So I received sometime in the last several months ago a nice letter, Protect Your Children. And in it, it's also got a QR code for you to go and scan, and it talks about how a previous supervisor immediately moved the line for hunting, and then a later one, erased that change. Well, sorry, there was no public hearing that ever did that. So right away we start with inaccurate information. But one of the last things, the last paragraph says about rules are not being enforced. Well, there's where it lies. It isn't necessarily about changing, the lines and everything. It's about enforcement and repercussions. And if you don't have those, it doesn't matter what the rules are. If you want to go up, you can go up on Joseph Avenue, and I'm sure it's no hunting there. You think that stops the shooting? It's the repercussions. So, with that, I mean, I understand where the changes are being made relative to where the density has increased dramatically. The one map that I received also shows that 2 properties on Jackson Road were included in this no discharge area, where I believe those property owners have asked that they not be included in the past, and I don't know if it's just that the map that I got wasn't accurate or not, but I know that they did not want theirs included in that. So I think the real issue is the people that have a problem with safety need to be working on repercussions and enforcement, and not necessarily creating more laws. If nobody's enforcing them, it doesn't do any good. So the changes, I can see where they're warranted. State law restricts them in all these places where there's high density. That's common sense. You really don't even need the town law because the state law restricts that. But I understand where they're coming from as far as safety for that, but in other areas, we've seen a huge increase in deer populations and other things relative to recent developments in the 250 Atlantic and Plank Road, Jackson Road area, and so with that, I'm sure we're going to see more damage, due to that. So I would thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Oh, but I do have, if there's no one else going to speak in the audience, I do have. I'd like to speak on that. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, please come up. And I do have one document.
How you doing, sir?
Doing very well, thank you.
Good. Just state your name, your address, and.
Gary Standish, 1730 Harris Road. I wasn't aware of this meeting till like 2 hours ago when my neighbor called me. I'm okay with the hunting thing. I used to hunt. I understand that you can hunt in the woods safely. My issue is, in the past 15 years, my home has been struck 3 times. And that's from the people discharging firearms, my next door neighbors. And to me, that's a problem. And that's where I have an issue with it. You really shouldn't be able to discharge your firearm in your backyard right next to your neighbors. Out in the middle of the woods, yeah, that's fine, and you're hunting. But I essentially right now have my own gun club right next to me. Not my gun club, but my neighbors. they were nice enough to introduce themselves and say they would be shooting back there. I said, okay, you know, but it's almost every day, it's random, and when the shotgun goes off, they live quite a bit in front of my house. It literally gives quite a scare. It's not much fun, but more on the safety issue, I say, there's been 3 residents in that home in the past 10 years. Every one of them has been into shooting guns. But when you strike my house 3 times in that 15 years, from that same, they've all originated from that area and most likely that home. So that's what I have to say about that.
Carrie, what was your address?
1730
Harris Road.
Harris Road.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir, I just have a quick question. Can you estimate the distance in feet between your house and this neighbor's house?
From when they're shooting from my back deck to where they're shooting from in their backyard is maybe 400 feet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else like to talk on the gun discharge? Yes, sir. I'm sorry. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
And my name is Dave Skiba. I live at 3 Chev Hill Circle. I've been living here about 45 years now, and I've enjoyed hunting in the different properties that the farmers allow me to hunt, which I think is great. And they're very good. And the whole idea of safety, and first I want to talk about the gentleman just left. I mean, that's what the sheriffs are about to do. When you have a situation like that, you call the sheriffs. There are limitations for neighbors that just have bad taste, and I guess you have to deal with that. But that does not accommodate or in any way criminalize all the other hunters or people that shoot in those areas. Second point, and it's really on top of that, is what's the data we have on how much safety is there a problem? How many times have houses been shot at? Guns that have been called, or I've been here 40 years and I've only had one instance where there was a major crisis of a gun concern, and it was on Dublin, or near Dublin, I believe, and that was a few years ago. But other than that, it's been a very quiet neighborhood. So that's one of the points. And the second point, now the woman earlier said something about that she has a petition from 700 residents. I'd like to know if those residents are from the town or from the area that's going to be closed down, because that to me would be a big important factor of where these signatures are coming from. So other than that, thank you.
Thank you.
Dave?
Yeah.
Dave, can you spell your last name, please?
Sure, Skiba, S-K-I-B as in boy, A.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Gary Smith, 1250 Northrop Road. I saw the map of where the changes are to be made. It doesn't make sense for, because of the density, having those areas and no discharge. I just ask that you don't continue to add lands to it, especially going over to Salt Road. We are a big hunter. Obviously, we're a safe hunter. We've been feeding our family for years as well with deer. Other problem we have in this area is coyotes. I don't know, a lot of people probably aren't familiar with that, but there are a lot of coyotes in our area. This is what happened to our newborn calf this summer from a coyote pack that got it the night it was born. That calf right there is worth, at the market today, $800. If I was to take it to the market, a 1-week-old calf is $800 at the market. And it's going to take me over a year to replace that. So I'm asking that, you continue to allow hunting. This is something that I do go after, predators, coyotes, for this reason. I've seen signs on telephone poles, cat missing. Fortunately, I could probably tell you where that cat ended up if it's outside at night. These are a predator that go after everything. And, this is another reason I strongly urge you not to move that line over to Salt Road. Where it is now obviously makes sense. I saw the map and, I agree that it's a high-density area, but, please don't continue to move it forward. that was it.
And sir, I think you said Gary Smith is your name? Am I
Correct.
Great. Okay.
It's easy, even I can really spell that. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hello.
How you doing?
A little nervous, but figured
It's
out.
okay. So am I.
Patrick Young, 3375 Atlantic Avenue. My family, we built my house about 5 years ago, and I bought and built my home, and I hunt with my sons. We enjoy it. I was brought up hunting. I do believe that it's a sport to bond with your loved ones. I think it's good for the community. I would ask the same question if those 700 people, are they the ones that are in the areas? I think that people that are petitioning should be the ones that are in the area that's going to be affected. I do believe in gun safety. I think that if you are in an area and you're closer than 500 foot from a home, then the law enforcement should do something about it. I don't think we have to make rules on top of rules if somebody's doing something wrong. I would like to not to be moved at all, please. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last call for gun discharge. All right, with that, I'll close.
I do
I'm
have
sorry.
one.
Thank you.
I'm just in receipt of an email from Linda Shriver, and she supports adopting the recommendations from the Penfield Residents for Safety Team. That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, I'll close the third public hearing. And we'll move on to the next agenda item is public participation. I think we have a few people signed up for that, Amy.
Yes. First one is Jacob Zeppelin.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's staying warm. Thank you for making the time to hear from us today. Before I get started, there was one thing I wanted to hand out. I'll provide a copy for the town attorney and the clerk, and one for each of the town board members. I did provide a detailed copy of this prior to the meeting for your convenience.
No.
But I wasn't sure who would have an opportunity to review it.
Thank you.
Today, I know everyone's
Thank you.
You're welcome. These are historical town records that came from the town, and I'll reference them during my comments now. Good evening. My name is Jacob Zoglin. I'm an attorney at Underberg & Kessler here in Rochester, and I'm here to provide public comments on the Willow Ponds project. I represent members of Preserve Penfield who have serious concerns about this project. Accordingly, I've been asked to provide public comments to assist the town board in its review of this application. I provided a letter that also attempts to provide assistance to the town board with this application as well. This all relates to my review of a video of the town board meeting from January 22nd of 2025. When I reviewed that, I heard various town board members express doubts about the project, concerns about its impacts, and fears that they would be sued and lose unless they granted the project. It sounded like they were concerned they didn't have a choice. Now, following that meeting, I researched the legal issues that were raised by the town board and confirmed that it is not legally required to approve this application for a number of reasons. I'm going to try to go through those step by step in a really summarized fashion to allow time for the board to ask questions afterwards if it has any. First, an applicant is not entitled to a special use permit as of right. It's a discretionary approval, and the Court of Appeals, which is the highest court here in New York State, has held that, quote, the grant or denial of a special use permit is left to the untrammeled but of course not capricious discretion of the board, end quote. So I think it's pretty clear that you guys have an option here. You're not foreclosed by the law. You have an opportunity to make a reasoned decision. Now, second, the special use permits, they are discretionary approvals. They're not ministerial duties. And that's not an insignificant distinction. The fact that it is a discretionary approval means the town board has choices when deciding the application. It can rely on facts and its reasoned judgment and is not required by law to vote one way or another. Third, you're dealing with an application where it's the developer's burden of proof. So the applicant has the burden of proving that the standards for the issuance of a special use permit have been met. And the town board must deny this application if the applicant fails to meet that burden. In this case, the burden has not and cannot be met. The town code says that, quote, maintenance of the intent and function of the planned development shall be of primary importance, end quote, when evaluating applications for a special use permit to allow a change of use in a planned development district. Now, I've handed out town records from 1983, which show that the town planning board recommended against a change of use. Sorry. I lost my spot here. Showing that the original intent and function of the planned development district was to provide senior citizen housing. The town planning board recommended against a change of use, and the town board similarly denied a request to change that use. And so that is represented in the two letters, one from the planning board and one from the town board, one recommending against the change in use and one informing the applicant of the denial of the change of use because it would not maintain the original intent and function of the senior citizen housing. This shows not just that the town board may consider these facts and these issues, that the project would change the intent and function of the planned development district, but also that it has in the past denied an application for a change of use, involving this area. And I think it's fairly clear that when you have evidence that someone can consider something and they have in fact done something, that it's fair for you to follow that precedent. Fourth, in reviewing the application, in addition to considering whether the standards were met, the town board may also consider whether the project would be inappropriate at this specific location and whether the project would adversely impact the public welfare. I know public welfare is kind of a vague term, but there are explanations in the case law about what reasonable grounds for impacts on public welfare look like. They include impacts on traffic, density, intensity, the surrounding area, community character, inconsistency with municipal plans or code.
So I'll give you a little time, but you got to wrap up just because the timing, you're running out of time.
Absolutely. So I'll skip over that because it is contained in my letter.
Yeah.
I'll hit my last point for you just so that I can.
Go ahead.
The fifth and final point is the concern about the premise that it sounded like there was a belief that the proposed change in use is pre-authorized merely because it's the way you get it is by applying for a special use permit. But that's not the case. The error of law here is misleading. It's a misreading application of the case law. The cases that talk about whether or not a special use is pre-authorized are distinguished here because those all involved instances with the town code identified a special use. Let's say it's, I'll use hunting because we were just talking about it, right? If you say, like, okay, hunting is allowed in this place by special use permit, then you know what use is being talked about because they've identified it. Here, they're not saying a specific identified use is permitted with a special use permit. They're saying if you want to change the use that's already authorized in the planned development district, you need a special use permit, and you need to show that its intent and function is going to be maintained. And that's not what this is doing, so it's not a pre-authorized use that you're just saying, make sure you check these boxes. That's not what's going on here, and that's why the town code focuses on maintaining the intent and function, because it's not a pre-authorized use, it's a use that you need to think about whether it's consistent with the reason that this district was established.
Okay.
And just to drive the point home.
I think, out of fairness for all the other speakers, we've let you go on for an additional minute and 10 seconds, but I do think out of fairness,
absolutely.
We do need to end time. I do have a couple comments, though, Jeff. So So as the board knows, this project has been pending before the town of Penfield for almost a year. It's been reviewed, discussed, there have been hearings before the planning board, and it's been pending before the town for months as well. It came before a work session towards, in the last quarter. I do acknowledge that we did receive the letter yesterday at about 3:30. We do have the resolution proposed tonight. I do understand that counsel for the developers are here as well. Nobody really likes an 11th hour petition, but I do think it warrants some review with the town attorney as well. I do think the some of the laws, I haven't finished shepherdizing all of them, but I do think at least the statutes, there's no disagreement as to the statutes, but I do take issue with some of the facts. I think there's a mischaracterization of the facts. And so again, I don't think there's an issue in law, but there's issue in facts. And the principles of administrative review versus legislative review are well established, right? There's been decisions on this by the appellate division as well, as I'm sure you're aware. So I think for me, and again, I don't know how the town board feels, but I would like a more careful opportunity to review the letter and allow the board to have discussions with the town attorney as well. And I'm sure there are others, many more that do want to speak on this. I'm not trying to dissuade that at all. But I would like the board to consider a very brief pause on this. And I'd be asking for resolutions 53 and 54 to be tabled tonight under additions and deletions to the agenda to allow that opportunity. I think the board does need to welcome with counsel Mr. Zoglin for a discussion as a courtesy as well. You know this is not a legal proceeding, but as a courtesy as well. And a very brief opportunity for any other residents that would like to comment if the board would like to make itself available for not another public hearing, but a more informal discussion. So that would be my position tonight.
I just,
So, sorry, not engaging. I would like to, not try to cut you off, I'm sorry. Would like the board to at least respond first as to what the position is, because I will be making that motion later tonight. So I'm sorry, not trying to interrupt you.
I was just going to apologize for the late submission, that was all.
Oh, okay.
No, and I think that's a valid point. We did receive, I saw it quickly in my inbox there on the way here, but wasn't able to review it all. And I did receive some information from a resident overnight that was worthy of a deeper dive and a further look into. So I think I agree with your comments is where I'm at this point, personally.
Yeah, I just struggle with setting a precedent of, we've been through this process for months, and I hate to delay anyone. And I don't care if it's someone that wants to build apartments or someone that wants a variance for a fence in their backyard. And so I'll say I struggle with this. We were moving this resolution forward, and that was what we were going to vote on tonight. With that said, I guess I'm okay with it, but I honestly struggle with it at this late hour. And it may come up with other projects we're doing, and I think there'll be a comment tonight on another project in the town that's been, hashed out for years, and someone was a little late to the party, and just like in this case. So I struggle with it. I just soon move this forward which I think is just the right thing to do after all this time. But yeah, go ahead,
I'd like
Kevin.
to say I think this is a very impactful matter, and we have to do all our due diligence to ensure that once this very permanent decision is made, that it is the right decision. And to delay briefly, I think is absolutely the right thing to do. This was very pertinent new information that in a lot of ways I asked for. So I have no regrets about that. And I think that we just have to be very, very careful in our deliberations and our considerations of fact to be fair to everyone, and that time is not the most important factor in this. So I agree completely with your suggestion.
Well, Kevin, I trust your judgment, and Candace, and and Bob as well. I mean, I don't know if I have to make a motion to table it for a period of time, but I'm willing to do that. Linda, you want
Make sure we get everybody who came here tonight a chance to speak.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah. No, it's
public
not trying to dissuade anyone
participation,
from public participation, but I did at least, okay, so if we can take it out of order, I'm going to make that motion now to please table 25T-05354. I'm going to be asking Mr. Zoglin to please send your availability in the next 5 to 7 business days, if that is permissible. I'm just trying to give, the sense of urgency and credence to your letter, and so that we can continue conversations as efficiently as possible to Mr. Weishaar, and then we can coordinate with the board as well.
Yes, I will give my availability.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, do we have to vote on that motion?
I think Jeff had, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
Bob had seconded originally.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Yeah. Vote. Amy?
Lee,
Aye.
Ockenden,
Aye.
it's going to be out of order. Barry,
Aye.
Leenhouts,
Yes, aye.
Teglash.
Aye.
Okay.
5 ayes.
Well, thank you for coming, and I apologize to everyone. The way this works with public participation is you speak for 5 minutes, there's no back and forth, so I'll kind of be firm on that, because I've noticed, by the way, in the past, we had a public hearing regarding Costco. There was a lot of people that left at the end of the night because they couldn't just wait forever, so I just want to make sure everyone's heard, so we'll get rolling and keep this going. Thank you.
Thank you, Town Board. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
Gary Standish.
Gary, you want to still speak? Gary Standish? Some folks may have left if they've already...
Wendy Roche.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Okay, hi, my name's Wendy Roche. I live at 61 Willow Pond Way. My property backs right up to this proposed development. I and several of my neighbors are in a unique position of advocating for what's best for us, what's best for our neighbors, and what's best for the town. Not opposing the change of use might be what's best for those who back up to this project like myself. Mark IV admittedly did make concessions in regard to the project based on our feedback, which includes additional green space, the removal of parking spots that back up to our yards, privacy fencing, adjustment to parking lot lighting, and more. However, I will continue to say that the 3-story building is not in line with what is improved for that area, and I do encourage the board to strongly consider that before plans are approved. I'd also like to encourage Mark IV to create a better 2-story option that does not force us into accepting a 3-story build, because the 2-story option presented previously would remove all of the prior mentioned contingencies. Opposing this change of use is what's likely best for our neighbors, and by neighbors I mean those in Willow Pond as well as those that live on Penfield Road. Traffic is already congested and dangerous on Route 441, and the town has yet to do anything about it in the 19 years that I've lived here. While your studies may show this project has a negligible traffic impact, I think we all know there's a difference between traffic from a senior living community and traffic from a development that targets younger tenants. Before I go further, Mr. Leenhouts, you saying that traffic is an issue all across the community does not mean you should throw up your hands and say, oh, well, move forward. We have had countless residents come forward with concerns about safety, and a priority should be figuring out how to fix that before you allow any development, regardless of how it is zoned. Penfield Road may be managed by the state DOT, but I'm sure the town provides feedback about state roadways on a regular basis. Not doing so is offensive to the residents of this town, like those who live at 1996 Penfield Road, who've had to repair and repaint their fence countless of times after cars have crashed through it. To the people who live at 1980 Penfield Road, who had a car crash into their front porch, causing significant structural damage, and the neighbors down the street who had poles come down in the yard in the fall. And the failure to address traffic issues at Baird Road and Penfield Road, it's offensive to Sandra Myers and her family, who have had countless cars come up over the curb and sidewalk and onto their property over the years, twice in the last 2 months. You not making it a priority to address the traffic on Penfield Road is incredibly offensive to anyone who dares to walk down Penfield Road. For all of those accidents I mentioned could have easily killed a pedestrian on the sidewalk. Opposing the change as a whole would be what's best for the town, but where does it end? Certain designations and requirements are put into place for a reason, and when you keep voting to change it, it basically says you don't give a damn about the rules and requirements that were put into place by your predecessors. I will focus on and continue to advocate for myself and the more than a dozen families who live between Sanders Farm and the entrance to this project, as well as my neighborhood as a whole. The document that Candace shared with me shows that approving the change of use permit means that Mark IV will foot the bill for repainting pedestrian crossing stripes and the addition of signage on Willow Pond going to Crown Oak. Please don't forget that you guys promised to do this long before the apartment proposal. The lines were painted and got painted over, and they were supposed to be painted again in the fall, and that never happened. The document does not address does seem to not commit to the installation of speed control devices, which are speed cushions. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like those are contingent on the Transportation Committee. This is the same Transportation Committee my neighbors met with in 2013, 2015, and 2016. And Mr. Valentine was part of all of those meetings when we implored him to listen to our concerns about traffic speeding on the S-shaped curve of our road. It is the same curve that Mark IV created when they built our neighborhood. The lack of support over the years has been exhausting, which is why we stopped the fight and why we started taking matters into our own hands, stepping into the road to stop vehicles. The theme here is that the town has been not proactive, but rather reactive, except when it comes to safety on Penfield Road. It seems that nothing concrete is being done to address the safety of the residents from Sanders Farm to the entrance of this proposed development on Willow Pond. Nothing has been done in writing to protect the residents from Willow Pond to Devonshire and those from Camberley Place down to Route 250. They have come to countless meetings talking about concerns about their safety as well, as that is a preferred way to exit onto Route 250 so you don't have to go on Penfield Road. I invite you to come drive through our neighborhood, see what we're talking about. I would like to thank you, Linda, for coming and meeting with us and a couple residents earlier this week. It is a complex issue, but the board has a due diligence to the members of our community to seriously stop and listen to what we are saying before moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
Wendy, would you like to provide that to me for the record?
And Amy, for purposes of the notes and record keeping, the document that I shared was a copy of the resolution 53.
Yes. Just put it right there. All right, Laura Payne-Borsey.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Jeff. My name is Laura Payne-Borsey. I live at 8 Parham Drive. I'm here representing Preserve Penfield tonight. I want to share my concern about the town board meeting on January 22nd. I heard yet again, this time not from our town attorney, but from our town engineer, that Mark IV could go pull permits at any time for assisted living. Yes, they can. We all know that. It's the construction and perpetuation of such narratives that I find troubling as they become taglines, meant to convince listeners that the issue is a foregone conclusion. And whether they could pull permits for a prior project that they no longer want to build clearly is irrelevant to the question of whether a special use permit can and should be granted for the proposed change in use. It contributes to a false narrative of there being nothing more we can do. So I decided to do something. We foiled the town to obtain historical records showing that the town board can consider the issues raised by the public and can deny the special use permit. In 1983, based on a letter written by James Costello, the town board informed Mark IV that they would be opposed to a special use permit pursuant to Article 3-3-49-C of the zoning ordinance to deviate from the approved use of elder care or senior living. On August 6, 92, the Town of Penfield received a different application from Mark IV Construction to allow them to build a 64-unit apartment complex for adults on 4.33 acres at 34 to 40 Willow Pond Way. This is where the Addison now sits. And the units were described as luxury. The response to this request was written by Irene Gossin, and I quote, "The town board has directed me to inform you that it does not favor multiple residential development rather than senior citizen housing as originally planned in the Willow Pond PUD. The town board has determined that the original plan of 90 senior units must be adhered to and will not grant a special use permit pursuant Article 3-3-49-C of the ordinance. This affirms the decision of the Planning Board that the proposed change does not meet the original intent of the approved use going back to 1972. So I would respectfully ask that we have a review of the last meeting's minutes to make a correction that this does not go back to the 2000s. This planned use approval goes back to 1972. Not only can this town board tell Mark IV no to a special permit for a change of use, the Penfield Town Board told them no in '92 for fewer luxury apartments than they are requesting now, simply because those units did not comply with the intended use, period. They didn't have to get into any other arguments. But the story didn't end there. In 1996, Mark IV came back and asked to build an assisted living 150-bed, an 89-unit independent living facility, and one office building for medical purposes. In her resolution, Linda Cole wrote, "The board is supportive of the applicant's proposal for a combination of senior housing in the form of assisted living and independent living, as such uses are generally to be low traffic generators, particularly during peak traffic morning and even hours." In that detailed resolution, the town board affirmed not only consistency to the planned use, but the actual rationale for it. That low traffic generation was the reason this use was created in the first place. And now in 2024, they ask that you depart completely from the purpose and the intent of the PD that this town has upheld for 52 years. 52 years. And there's nothing more that you can do? Simply put, this town board can make a decision, and as the record shows, the project will have significant impacts on traffic safety for this neighborhood, which includes the 441 corridor. Moreover, the three-story complex is not in keeping with the character of this neighborhood. Your predecessor showed you 4 times in 4 different resolutions and decisions exactly what you need to do. And then they showed it specifically for this exact PD and this exact same developer.
May I ask for a copy as well? I think there were only 4.
That was perfect timing, too, I got to say, right on the dot. Amy?
Yes. Jib Eldred.
How you doing, Jim?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good.
Good evening, everybody. I hold in my hand...
Jim, remind us that your address, sorry.
My name is Jim Eldred. I live at 744 Liberty Street.
Thanks.
I hold in my hand 4 documents. A letter, comprehensive in nature, a 2-page document with highlights, an architect's elevation, and an architect's overhead site plan. I delivered duplicates of this exact thing in an envelope identical to this, addressed to each board member, to Mr. Weishaar and our town clerk. Your names were on the outside of the envelope, my return address was on the back, and your names were individually addressed in each letter. I've been made aware that at least one of you has not received this. On Monday, the 13th of January, I delivered these envelopes to this facility and took them to the supervisor's office where he got his, and I took the remainder to the town clerk's office, where I am certain they were dealt with the way they were supposed to be and handled exactly as I was told, because I've met those people before, and I assured the clerk that they were handled properly. My question to the 4 board members and to Mr. Weishaar is, did you receive this packet that I delivered to this
So Jim,
facility?
just so I didn't miss anything, this is regarding the Clark House, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right.
You did receive it?
Yes, yep.
Yes, sir.
You did?
Yes. And I actually,
did, Mr. White?
sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
I'll ask after. I don't want to eat your time. I'm sorry.
Well, in this letter, I made myself available to all of you pretty much any time, any place, and I've heard nothing. In regards to Clark House and the barn, this is my concern. In the barn, I'm going to be brief. The barn should be rebuilt where it is. Consult Dolomite. I don't think they should have a problem with it. The barn that exists there now is over 100 years old and has not had any effects from the quarry. I don't see them having a problem with reconstructing the barn because they're not building it from scratch. Any issues regarding that, like parking and other things, I have ideas and thoughts. I'm available to discuss those things. In particular, I'm interested in Clark House. In the roadmap of history for Penfield, Clark House lies directly in the middle of that. It's halfway between our past and halfway between our future. In 1800, the Clark family came to this town. 1800. There were no roads, there were no trains, there was no Erie Canal. At best, it was a controversial issue on the drawing board. They came here the hard way. Luther Clark bought 50 acres of land from Daniel Penfield, the founder of this town, in 1800, 10 years before we were a town. He built his property somewhere north of what is now Atlantic Avenue. And from all indications, it is within the Luther Clark house, which is a landmark in the town. They came with 6 kids. Their eldest son, Alpheus, built the house that we now know as Clark House. He bought that property in 1829, built his house in 1832, and lived and farmed on the land with his family. 1854, sold it to his son, continued to live there till he died. His son and his family farmed the land. There was at least one interim owner after his son, but at approximately 1921, his daughter with her husband bought the house and property and lived there. 3 generations of the first family of Penfield have lived in this house. I have one objection to the project as proposed. They want to connect this thing to the back of a historic house that is 192 years old, connected to the first family of Penfield. If that house were a person, that would be the ultimate act of disrespect. The house deserves better than that. And I've been gathering information. I was told I've come to this too late in the game. Doesn't matter to me. I've been doing my homework every day for over 2 months now. If something is wrong, then it's never too late. We hired an architect that we paid.
Jim, you got to finish up, but I'm sorry. Just we're running out of time.
Well, here's very simply, you asked me this too, sir. Here's what I want to see. I'm not saying don't build it. I'm saying build the new facility. It will be good for the town. Build it as designed. The architect had no business connecting it to this house, and I can discuss that all you want. Separate the two. You have a large plateau of land right up there.
I hear you.
Move it directly north 100 yards. It falls outside the 200-foot buffer. It can be constructed there, and as a builder told me, it's easier and less costly. Same thing for the house. Easier and less costly.
Thanks, Jim. For everyone's sake, I just got to cut you off. I'll say this. We did meet, you and I spent a half hour, 45 minutes, and I appreciate the history that you taught me that I didn't know, and I do appreciate it. And I'm sorry, in a sense, that you did come a little bit late in December. We've been working on this for years, but I'm sure, we'll take things into consideration. And thank you for participating tonight.
You're in violation of your own code.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim, can I ask do you use email?
All I'll say is, I made myself available, and I'm still available.
Yep.
Now, if you're not going to talk to me, please tell me so the town knows that you're not going to talk to me.
So I'm asking if you use email, sir, so I can schedule some time. I don't have a phone at the town building, and so I try to schedule time with residents via email. So
I will be glad to give you my phone number.
Okay.
My phone number,
I have your phone
is in
number
the letter.
Okay.
And Jim, you know how to reach me, so I can share that. Thank you.
Talking to me now is not going to do any good if you're not going to, I was going to say, pause this for 30 days. 30 days. This can all be, the entire thing can be rectified in 30 days.
Thanks, Jim. Okay.
Joe Bianchi.
Can Joe and I come together? We want to talk about the same thing. Under 5 minutes?
Sure.
Oh, mics work?
How you doing?
I'm Lindsay Principe. I'm at 53 Willow Pond Way.
Yeah.
Bianchi at 67 Willow Pond Way.
So we are here, obviously, to talk about the Willow Pond project. Joe was nice enough to provide some pictures that we'd like to submit in. Our concerns with Mark IV are that we have not yet gotten proof that the flooding that currently happens in our backyards will be fixed. We all back up directly to that location, and just for example, Joe provided his backyard, how it completely floods anytime it rains, basically. All of us in that area have it, and so we're very concerned with a new building going back there and how they're going to mitigate that flooding. We've not had an answer to that yet. We both have sheds at the back of our properties, both have rot on the wood just because of the flooding. Afraid that's going to get worse.
Yeah, I'm not really concerned with the whatever building it's going to be. The primary thing that's going to happen, I have an easement on my property. I've contacted the town several times to have assistance with it, and in one of these, I think it was January 26th, I submitted something, and I didn't get a response, but the easement floods pretty well down by my, what I call he shed. So back there is a grate, a sewer, and my neighbor said that they were thinking about tapping into that sewer to bring it down into this was Willow Pond Way over here, and the sewer's behind that tree line. So if they do tap into that, I don't know if it can handle it or what's going to happen, but if you were to look at this is on a nice, sunny January 26th day.
Yeah.
You can see how much water just builds up and collects. No one has come out to check on it. I had some guy come over, throw a cone on it, and then drove away. I don't know what the cone was for. It's still there, but I don't know what it was for. But I can give you evidence of the flooding. Our concern is the amount of flooding that runs. This is kind of like the tree line, and it invades her property and our neighbor's property, and it just floods massively, and it seems to like to collect right by where I want to be. So this happens every time it rains. The other concern would be the snow pushing. Like, where do they push the snow? If they're going to push it towards that sewer, and it drains down in, and there goes my, I invested over $45,000 on my backyard. I know it's not a lot, but it is a lot for me.
It's a lot.
Brand new concrete, brand new gazebo, he shed. I got the works back there. I just don't want to see any of that crack. Like, our concern is what would happen if damage is done post-construction, regardless of an apartment building or assisted living. Now, you can argue assisted living, there's not going to be as much water as in 88 units More showers will be done by those going to work compared to the assisted living. I don't know the water stats. I didn't come prepared looking up stats, but I do know the water usage would probably increase quite tremendously. And the other thing, I have a proposal for the solution on Bear Road. As you come down on 441, a lot of cars try to force entry out there for this, just for the traffic's sake. Maybe make them one-sided lights, so you go straight and turn all at once, and then they go straight and turn all at once, and then 441 convenes. I don't know if that has been thought of, but I would like to make that proposal on Baird Road, because I think it would alleviate that poor woman's fence that's been hit twice in the last 3 weeks.
Can you send me an email, Joe, at just supervisor@penfield.org, and can you submit those pictures, do you mind?
Yeah.
And I got to ask you, do I know you through Little League or
You know
Boy
me through
Scouts?
a lot of things, yeah.
I'm sorry. You look great, by the way.
Yeah. Just a couple more years older.
I knew you.
That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, yes. And
Yeah.
You've been to my house several times, so
Okay.
one day you should come to the he shed and witness it yourself.
I'm interested, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you.
That's not easy. So this is where the easement goes. That's so if you were to stick this here, that's kind of like the other end, so easement, that's my other side of the property. And this one is past the ramp, the he shed.
Got it. Who's next, Amy?
Okay. Anybody else?
So no one else has signed up, per se?
Lindsay, you want to join them?
No one signed.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if I want to do it off the record. I honestly don't.
Okay.
Come ahead.
Yeah, just so you're aware.
Yeah, my concern is this, they pull us aside and make promises, and then we end up coming back to the next town.
Okay, fair point. I just wanted to make sure you're aware, that's all.
Go ahead.
No offense to them in any way, then this is just what happens.
Yep.
We get pulled aside, we have conversations, and nothing happens.
Yep.
Hi,
Your name and address, please.
Barbara
Thank you.
Madura, 787 Embury Road, Penfield.
Barbara, could you spell your last name?
MIDURA,
And the address again?
787 Embury Road.
Thank you.
I'm here regarding the Clerk House. First, I want to say I feel bad that he could not continue on a little bit more, because we did have a brief meeting the other night, and it was very informative. And unfortunately, I feel the lack of communication regards what's going on with the Clerk House, a lot of us have been left in the dark. My basic concern is regarding the preservation of the Clerk House. Now, I know the Historic Preservation Board stated that according to them, the purpose of the ordinance is to preserve the historical, architectural character of designated structures. And with this additional and connecting to a historical landmark, I think is most disrespectful to not only the history of the Clark family, but even to the residents of Penfield, to destroy a landmark with such a horrendous addition to that facility. Also, according to the Historical Preservation Board, once again, it's supposed to maintain the character and historic and aesthetic interest, and represent and establish and familiar visual features of the neighborhood. And putting this, like I said before, attaching a structure to a historical landmark is, I think you'll agree, is not the most representation that we should prove towards the Historical Society. And it is Penfield's building, it is our building, so hopefully you can think about the redesign and have it a little more catering to the looks and maintaining of the Clark House rather than putting in this venue. that the only thing good about the venue coming in is I'll have some place where the Penfield Pops could perform. But thank you, and please reconsider the design and layout and have the architect do something that is more enhancing for the Clark House and its preservation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak tonight? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Just let us know your name and your address, please.
My name is Sarah Jane Clifford. My former address was 2051 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road. My current address is 1745 Penfield Road. I previously owned what was known to the public as the Gymnastic Training Center of Rochester, Fit by 5 Preschool, Botsford School of Dance, and Special Needs Incorporated functioned out of my building. I understand that there has been some discussion in this town concerning the Chick-fil-A possibility of moving into this town, and I have my own opinions about what should happen, of course, with the town of Penfield, as we call it, the town of planned progress. I have been involved in this community since 1987 when I opened my first building down at what was formerly called the Perkins Swim Club, down at Panorama Plaza when I first moved to Penfield and started operating my business down there. I have seen so much progress in this town, some good, some bad, some indifferent. But as the owner of a building that I purchased 1/3 of a property, the property originally was 1. It has been subdivided into what others call Dunkin' Donuts, Don's Original, and GTC. I'm concerned as to the fact that my interested buyer is trying to get a zoning that's having difficulty with it, but yet Don's Original is a restaurant, and they're trying to say, no, you can't have a restaurant in that zoning. The property was subdivided into 3 equal zoning parts. My concern is that I believe we have a problem on Route 250 with traffic. I saw many accidents occur outside of my building and further down the road and closer to the intersection as well by 441. This town loves to call incentive zoning to get new businesses to move to this town, as I was the president of the original Penfield Business Association and a founding member, as well as a member of the Penfield Business Association and the only lifetime member that is currently alive. I have watched businesses come and go, but the one thing I feel that we need at what I call my previous building is putting up a light. I've heard that Chick-fil-A is willing to put in a light at that intersection, which I think is a safety concern for all people driving down that road. I have been before this town board at every new business meeting and proposed that a light be put in, and the town board has consistently told me, Sarah Jane, you can put in a light, but I could never afford one. We finally have a business that can afford to put a light in and make our area safer for the community, and it's not being approved. I would like to see that light there for the ambulances trying to turn left into the Strong project. I'd like to see the post office connected to the Strong building and be able to turn left out with their 16-wheel trucks trying to exit onto 250. When I first built my building, the town told me that it was a monstrosity, that it would never fit into the side of the building along the residence. But what my building did do was take away the green space which all of Penfield residents say they're so fond of. If my building were taken down and turned from a 22,000 square foot building into a 5,000 square foot building, we would now add to the beautiful green space which our residents so fondly admire. If we add a business into a vacant spot, that would certainly stop crime, which has now increased in our area. My friends who work across the street, not only at Strong, but at Rochester General, cannot go outside the building, especially at night, because there's heroin needles outside our area now. We have introduced vagrants, we have introduced criminals. Eyesight has been broken into, and many other businesses have been broken into since my building has been left vacant. What community doesn't understand with when we end business and don't put a new one in, we also end taxes. The more the taxes bring in from businesses, the less the residents have to pay. I would like to increase businesses in our community, as I think that is good for all bases.
So you're out of time, Sarah. If you could wrap up, sorry.
Thank you. I just hope that we can convince such a wonderful business to move to our community and enhance more national businesses to come to Penfield. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sarah Jane, would you like to provide your statement for the record? Would you like to email me the statement?
If you would like a very messy, because I'm a gymnast and not a secretary, I would love to give you a copy.
That would be fine.
Thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else like to speak?
On that matter, if I may, briefly?
Sure.
Thank you, Sarah Jane.
I'll wait until she's...
You can figure it out.
I will. Thank you. Okay, Jacob, go ahead.
Thank you for hearing me again. Very briefly, the application by Chick-fil-A for the conditional use permit seeks the wrong relief. There is the 250-441 overlay district that applies to that property. That district has additional requirements for what's permitted as a right, and what requires the conditional use permit. When you look at that zoning district and you apply that overlay district for 250-441, it says that sit-down restaurants are what are permitted there with a conditional use permit, not takeout restaurants. The town code does have a distinction in it between sit-down and takeout restaurants because those different uses has different impacts. And so a conditional use permit to allow a takeout restaurant, which is what Chick-fil-A obviously is, as opposed to a sit-down restaurant, is not permitted, even with the conditional use permit, at that property because of the TFOD, the 250-441 overlay district. And so the relief sought, the permission to commence that use, cannot be granted by that board. What they need to do is apply for a use variance to the ZBA. They can't get the conditional use permit from the planning board because the town code does not authorize the relief requesting. So that's all I wanted to mention. Going forward, they need to apply to the ZBA because the planning board can't grant the relief. And even if they purported to grant the relief, the code enforcement officer, building inspector, would not legally be allowed to issue a building permit for Chick-fil-A because they need a variance from the ZBA, a use variance from the ZBA, not this conditional use permit. That's the only point I wanted to make. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
No. Anybody else want to speak tonight? Okay.
Okay, and I'm in receipt of 2 emails opposing the Willow Pond project.
Okay. And I don't see anything. Okay, I'll close the public participation part of the meeting.
Jeff, can we have a brief moment here, please?
Sure. Let everybody get out of here that wants to. Drive safe, everybody. You can hang out.
No, you don't have to leave.
You don't have to
We're
leave.
just taking a brief pause.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Do you want the other one back? Oh,
sure.
Stick around, more fun to come.
Thank
Just want to give people a chance to bail if they want
you.
to.
You taught my children.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes.
Stay warm.
Good.
Drive safe.
Yeah, well.
Nice to see you, Joe. Thanks, Candace, for that. Okay. So next item on the agenda is additions and deletions to the agenda. We have two additions tonight. 25, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead, do it.
25T-067 and 25T-068. Is that right?
I'll second that.
And do we need a vote for that, to add a couple items? No? Okay.
No, but maybe we would, even though you took it out of order, you might want to remind everybody of what was deleted.
Sure.
Or what was
So
withdrawn.
Resolution
Thank you.
25T-53-54 have been tabled for this evening for further review.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes, January 8th minutes.
So I did have a
2025.
question on these. So
Yeah.
on January 8th, we had both this organizational meeting as well as a special ledge meeting.
Yeah.
And I think only the minutes for the org meeting were attached. So is that what is for approval? Or do you need approval for the special ledge session as well?
No, because the special ledge was in the duly appointed special organizational meeting is what we're doing. If there was a special meeting on another night, that will be,
It was on the same night. So I did ask Sue to clarify, because there were two meetings scheduled. We were here for two. We only got one set of minutes. I'm okay approving the minutes, but you're going to have
I'm
one
going to have to look
missing.
back on that.
Okay.
Because I thought everything was included in the minutes that we provided. So I'm going to have to go back to the tape.
Okay, so I will make a motion to approve what the board received for review, that is the organizational meeting minutes for January 8th.
Yes.
Okay. We have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, vote please, Amy.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay, and next item is petitions, and I believe we have one, right?
Yeah, so we just received the petition, 720 signed, the petition for the firearms discharge with safety concerns.
Okay. All right, ready to move on to resolutions by function? Start with law and finance, I
Number
believe.
48, authorization to maintain properties and assess the charges to the 2026 property tax bills.
So moved.
Second.
By this resolution, the town board is declaring that these properties on 50 Jackson Road, 2454 Browncroft Boulevard, 124 Beacon Hills Drive, 2203 5 Mile Line Road, 1503 Creek Street, and 59 Random Knolls are currently outside of code for permissible, lacking the general maintenance. They are in violation of building and code compliance. So for the safety, health protection, general welfare of persons and property, the town will be assuming the maintenance of these properties and charging it to the tax bills for the properties. For record, we have tried to contact multiple times the owners of record for these properties, but we don't want continued zombie properties or failure of maintenance in the town.
Question, if I may, regarding these properties. Do we do something similar for commercial properties that are left abandoned and run over?
I don't think.
Business.
I think you could. I don't know if this is, let's see. I don't know if this is a code provision that's just residential, but I think you could.
Okay.
I know there's a property on 250 that is, we talked about that in
Yeah,
office hours, so I think the code enforcement office is aware of that one.
Okay.
And I know of one other, I can't think where, but of just maintaining the grass came up on a commercial property. So I think this,
I realize this is residential.
This is,
but-
yeah, 'cause so I know that for, I don't know if we want to take that offline, but I know we
Right,
do.
that's fair.
We've had enforcement actions on 441 as well. I'm sorry, not 441, 250 and 441. So I know we've done that. Sorry, your question just threw me off because I was thinking residents only.
So I talked to Alan about that on Monday when I was here.
Okay.
So I know that that's kind of on his radar.
All right, and we can take it offline.
Yeah, and there is one that I'm working with building inspection that is a commercial property as well. So,
Very good.
okay, so did I get a second?
Sorry, back on
Linda seconded, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
okay.
Barry? Aye. Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Budget amendment to 2024 in the library fund for gift and memorial activity.
Moved as written.
Second.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Budget transfers for the general lighting, sewer, and sewer debt service fund.
Moved as written.
Second.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign a professional services agreement with 3+1 Company, Inc. for Cash Vest.
By this resolution, the supervisor would be authorized to sign a professional services
We need a
agreement.
vote, moved and second first.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. By this resolution, the supervisor would be authorized to sign a services agreement with 3+1 Company. The scope of the agreement is to retain them for their treasury analyses and financial skills in liquid management data. It looks like additional software for cash management. Jeff, is there anything you wanted to add there? I think this is to support comptroller office, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anything to?
said it. No,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for the town supervisor to sign a professional service contract amendment with Bergman PC for design services on the Clark House. This has been tabled.
No.
No,
Oh, no, this
This
one
is not tabled.
I'm sorry.
This is 52.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
vote.
So by, I
Yeah,
do
go
have a
ahead.
couple
No,
comments. So by
please,
this
please.
resolution, the supervisor would be authorized to sign a service contract amendment with Bergman PC for design services on the Clark House. I did want to add, because we did, Mr. Elder, who's still here, did comment, the resolutions tonight are ongoing for the project, and what I wanted to discuss with you, and I again, wanted to follow up with you for the letter. I know you did a lot of research on your own, and I think you had also acknowledged that in your letter, there were some information gaps or things that you didn't have access to. So I wanted to be able to arrange a meeting to provide any other additional information. But the Clark House, it's already in process. We've already authorized the scope of work, and this authorization is a contract amendment to increase the amount for professional design services. I will also note that the Clark House project has now, it's been on pending with the town. It's gone through 3 different supervisors. Actually, Bob, was it under LaFountain as well when it started?
Kind of started.
Okay, and the Historic Preservation Committee, they've been involved from the inception to design. Okay, and so I'm putting it also for the record. We did, again, involve the Historic Preservation Board from inception to design amendment, and they're continuing to be involved. I will note for the record that there was multiple, one or more memos, but the one that I wanted to highlight from the Historic Preservation Board is dated August 7th, 2023. that they reviewed updated drawings and renderings provided by Bergman Associates regarding the Clark House, and that's because that committee, in addition to additional staff and other advisory boards, did take into consideration the historical element of the house, wanting to preserve as much portions of the Clark House that could be preserved for historical purposes. There was a lot, and Bob, you'll remember, of wanting to move some of the relics as well to one side of the wall and give credence to that as well, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I want to stand corrected. The use of the property may have started under Supervisor LaFountain, but, the discussion
yes.
point, but as far as this project itself, it was further along. I think Supervisor Sinti is when we started that. And there was a few generations of that design that came out through that. And again, we could go back and look about the recommendations of leaving it connected to the house like the previous building was, or the current building, I should say, is attached. But we can go back and look at some of those and take out some answers as to maybe why that was the design. But
And I remember going through like the different design concepts with the Historic Preservation Board, and part of the reason we have to do the contract amendment is because we had the consultants come in multiple times, change the drawings multiple times to try to give more honor to the historical look of it, right? We changed from like that stone facade because it looked a little bit too modern, at least for the Clark historical house portion. Obviously, the lodge is going to look different as well.
And while you're rolling, I just want to thank past board members, supervisors, all the input we got from the public over the last however many years, because a lot went into this.
Yep. And
Please forgive me for this, but I covered in great detail in the letter that I submitted to you. All of these details, and there's still things that I don't know. My concern is, tonight is my understanding to vote on contracts. If you award the contracts, then the project goes forward. And that's why I asked for a 30-day pause.
So this is a contract amendment. The contracts are awarded. The project is already moving forward. So
I think they're set to be awarded tonight, but I think that we received bids, and the bids are only good for a period of time. So if we delay it, then you're going to end up delaying it a year at least, because you would not be able to get these same bidders to come back until next spring.
I was told that last week's work session, that was just a resolution to award, but it wasn't the actual award.
Those are tonight.
So,
That is tonight.
Yes.
So sorry, let me clarify. I am speaking at least with this contract. It's already been awarded. The work is going forward with Bergman. The resolution that is immediately before the board is the services amendment for the additional services that we had them come in to perform the rehab project, toward the rehab project. And we are saving portions of the original 1832 house.
Very quick, I'm sorry.
Quick question. Regarding the restoration of the Clark House, even with the Historical Landmark Society, do they agree that you can attach something?
You should come forward because
They
people
can't hear
watching
you on
can't
that.
hear you.
I'm sorry.
We really can't do this, but be very brief. We'll listen quickly. And
The changes that you're making with the National Historical Society of Penfield or whoever, is it still okay to attach a brand-new walkway to the landmark, to the Clark House? Is that fitting with them? Does that fit
I can't
in their
answer that.
So
guidelines?
in the memo, they did cite historical preservation standards and the criteria with the National Historic Society, the Landmark Society. That's all vetted through the Historic Preservation Board. And so yes, I don't want to cite all the memos tonight and all the criteria, but this
But
board.
it's okay to attach?
I take their recommendation.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we're ready for a vote, Amy?
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. number 53 and number 54. 53 was the State Environmental Quality Review Act review and determination associated with the special use permit application for 47 Willow Pond Way, and number 54, granting a special use permit for 47 Willow Pond Way, allow a change in use in the Willow Pond development, and both of those are tabled.
Okay, moving on, well, actually, no, moving on to Public Works.
Authorize purchase of one Bobcat sweeper bucket.
Moved as written.
Second.
And I just want to comment, this is the first of 5 resolutions that I'll be presenting. This is all for new equipment for the DPW. These vehicles are being purchased off of a New York State contract, and these items are part of our equipment replacement schedule. And so and these are all part of the 2025 budget as well.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee? Aye. Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorizing purchase of a 2025 Bobcat T86 T4 compact track loader.
Moved as written.
Second.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorizing purchase of a 2024 John Deere 75P excavator.
Moved as written.
Second.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorizing the purchase of one 2026 International HV 607 six-wheel dump trucks with plow and wing.
Moved as written.
Second.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorizing the purchase of two 2026 International HX 620 10-wheel dump truck and plow with plow and wing.
Moved as written.
Second.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Awarding the contract for site work services for the construction of the Clark House renovation project.
Moved as written.
Second.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Awarding the contract for plumbing contract services for the construction of the Clark House renovation project.
Moved as written.
Second.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Awarding the contract for electrical contract services for the construction of the Clark House renovation project.
Moved as written.
Second.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Awarding the contract for Havoc contract services for the construction of the Clark House renovation project.
Moved as written.
Second.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Awarding the contract for general construction contract services for construction of the Clark House rehabilitation and addition project.
Moved as written.
Second.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign recreation contracts.
Moved as written.
Second.
Yeah, these are just our contracts for summer recreational programs that include Center for Youth Earthworks, soccer shots, dance programs, creative arts, fitness programs, and additional dance programs for our summer program.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign recreation contracts that are different.
Moved as written.
Second.
Who seconded?
Candace.
Candace, you seconded? Okay. Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay, we have no old business, but we have some new business.
Authorization to settle 1600 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road tax certiorari proceedings.
Moved as written.
Second.
Do you want me to talk about that at all? It's pretty straightforward.
I defer to you.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. This is one of the last of these cases we settled when Chris Line was still the assessor, and we were just waiting for the school district. It's vacant property, slight reduction, no refunds.
Thank you.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes.
One more?
One more, active
Wasn't that
transportation.
one?
The other one was 68. It was awarding contract for professional planning services. Is that
Active transportation.
is that the new one?
Active transportation plan.
Okay, as Pete said, awarding a contract for professional planning services associated with preparation of an active transportation plan.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
The town's 2023 comprehensive plan update recommended the preparation of an active transportation plan for strategies and opportunities to enhance and expand multimodal access. This is again towards the preparation of an active transportation plan, not to be confused with the separate and unrelated traffic, the townwide traffic study that the town is currently exploring into for pursuit. This resolution would award that project to Colliers Engineering and Design in an amount not to exceed $100,000. I will also note that those funds are allocated by ARPA.
Barry?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Leenhouts?
Aye.
Ockenden?
Aye.
Teglash?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay, anything
I
else?
do want to add that in the agenda, where it says public participation, that should not be there. So I'm crossing it out. I apologize.
Numeral 11.
Roman numeral 11.
Well, adjourn this meeting. Before I do, I want to appreciate the public's participation, and just, I think I can speak for the whole board. We do listen to everyone and everyone that speaks, so we do appreciate that. So with that, I'll conclude tonight's legislative agenda. Our next town board meeting is March 5th, 2025, and I'll close this meeting at 8:26.